I'm so fortunate to work at ACDI, where better than yesterday, best job ever, and forge ahead are mantras that we do our best to adhere to every day. And as a subject matter expert, I'm privileged to be able to bring all the new stuff to you. A daunting task, actually, with all the changes that we get, and certainly no exception here. You're tuned in to the ACDI National Webinar for PaperCut version 19.1. I'm Doc Ballje. Dave Beyer, lead solution architect at ACDI, is with me again answering chat and Q&A during and after the presentation. Plus, your chance to win a very cool ACDI t-shirt or polo, so pay attention. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. You may recall that earlier this year, version 19, for 2019, version 19 came out with account selection at the devices, implemented Cloud OCR. We talked about our exclusive G Suite integration and announced that we are a Google for Education Premier Partner, plus a host of other improvements. Hang on to your hats, because we have the antidote for actually installing print drivers automatically. And since it's PaperCut, it just works. Let's get a dose of this. 4 key points and a little surprise announcement at the end are what we're infusing into PaperCut. Print deploy, on-premise OCR, scan to SharePoint online, and language selection at the MFD. That's the top-level stuff, and I think everyone really wants to know about this right away. So let's get started with print deploy, a natural progression in the PaperCut world. PaperCut has been managing your printers for 20 years now, all over the world and on just about every OEM, so let's help you get the drivers out. Especially with everyone I talk to saying, I don't want servers anymore. And then there's the, how come I got to set up Active Directory when I'm using G Suite for authentication? Well, PaperCut has already solved the mobile printing with Mobility Print, an awesome feature that comes with PaperCut. What about making it super easy for end users to walk into a location, any location that their company may have, and have the correct drivers auto-magically appear? Now you can take the complexity out of print queue deployment by getting the right driver and the right print queue to the right person in the right location automatically, right? Right. Here's how it works, and it's so easy. 3 simple steps. Now, you may have seen some other deployment tools that are available. Everybody has their own way of doing things. PaperCut always tries to make the entire experience easy. Easy for the end users and easy for the administrators. It's just so straightforward. Check it out. All you do is, first of all, set up a reference computer, which contains your print queues, drivers, default settings, and capabilities. Do note that this is for 64-bit devices only, not 32-bit. I know there may be cases where 32-bit computers are still out there, but they are being deprecated more and more due to the enhancement of 64-bit computing, which has also been out for just a really long time. Anyway, set up your print queues, make sure they work, then run this cloner app, and that'll bundle the print queues, drivers, default settings, and everything so you can push it out to your end users. Now then, in the app server, you'll configure your deployment zones. A zone is typically a branch, a store maybe, or a campus. It could be a logical grouping of computers or printers. Typically, it's laid out via IP address, and we'll see more of that in just a moment. Now, for each zone, connect the print queues that you want to deploy. You're going to hit Save and Deploy, and we'll see more of that in a bit, too. Now we set up your end users. You're going to push out a small print deploy client application to your users, and you could install it manually or use your favorite deployment tool like GPO or SCCM, Intune. On a Mac, even use JAMF. The client app runs as a service in the background, and then it checks for new print queues at startup every 15 minutes, or when the network changes. So, for example, when someone enters a new branch and joins the network, their print queues will automatically be deployed in the background. By the time they've opened their document, their print queues will be installed, helping to make them just super efficient with no interruptions. Goodness, I forgot the fourth step. Relax and enjoy the sudden silence on your support line as print queues magically appear on the computers. Check it out. Here's the steps. Clone. The reference computer or computers can be anything to use to push a driver up to PaperCut. Perhaps you'll want to set up a VM that you can shut down or turn on whenever you want to update a driver. And if that reference computer has a problem and stops working, that's okay, because you can really use any computer, anytime, to add or update any driver housed inside of PaperCut. Here's what's really cool. You can do this with a Mac as well. Yes, indeed. You know PaperCut is OS neutral, and while we don't have Linux and Chromebook rolled out yet, we do have Windows and Mac. Ever struggled with Mac driver implementations? Easy enough here. Just take one Mac, create the drivers, and you're done. Now, the biggest tip for creating drivers on a reference computer is similar to the best practice of installing PaperCut. How many times have you heard me say that the best way to install PaperCut is to get your devices in and on the network, printing as normal before you install PaperCut? Well, it's kind of the same thing here. When you install the driver, don't leave it at that. Make sure it works. Have you set defaults? Well, make sure they work. Did you add a finisher? Can you staple? When you know the driver works, then you're ready for the next step. Configuration. We talked about zones. Some folks that I've been speaking with seem to have a hard time with this concept, so I'll try to clear it up as best as I can. A zone is a logical grouping of things. I mentioned that earlier. Now, this could be a group of computers. It could be a group of printers. It might be individual floors of a building, perhaps. Or areas where people work, like this is the developer section and accounting is on the other side of the building. It's whatever you need to specify what printers are needed for what group of people. Now, since everything has an IP address, I mean, even my car, it's kind of amazing. All my smart devices in my home are showing up in my computer, things like that. So everything's got an IP address, and that's how you'll identify the groupings. In PaperCut, with the Advanced Enablement Pack, you'll be able to create as many zones as you'd like so the right driver is pushed out to the right person at the right location. Right. Now, all we need to do is get an agent on the end user's computer. Again, either Windows or Mac. And it's really all supported versions of the operating system, too. When we talk about Windows, that's Win 7 and above. On the Mac side, that would be 10.11 and above. The default time for print deploy is 15 minutes and configurable to fit your needs. It also uses a scatter technique so that not all computers are deploying at the same time. So when I say 15 minutes, that can vary from 10 to 20 minutes for someone to get a change to their setup. Now, that's different than when they log in. As soon as they either enter the zone or log into their computer, then print deploy will start working in the background right away. Users will have an icon on their taskbar, and they can right-click to refresh printers if need. Now, this is, again, Windows and Mac. Linux and Chromebook are on the way, so don't worry. Here's a high-level view of the steps that I just described. On the left, you'll see the reference computer with the queues that are cloned. When cloned, the queues, drivers, default settings, and finishing options are pushed into the app server, which you can see in the middle. In the app server's interface, you manage your zones, and connect the print queues that you want to deploy to each zone. Then you'll just hit Save and Deploy. The queues are pushed out to your branches. On the right, I've got a couple of examples of branches. In one branch on the top, users are printing via a server, and with Print Deploy, these server queues are automatically installed. Branch Office 2 on the bottom is an example of a site that doesn't have a print server. Print Deploy works great for those sites as well. When a direct print queue is present, then Print Deploy will automatically install and configure the PaperCut Direct Print Monitor, which will track printing on those queues. And it's also going to enable Find Me and secure print release. So this is an animated GIF of what it looks like on the Enabled Printing tab now of PaperCut. Kind of shows you how you can just pick your different printers. You're able to push it into the different zones. You got that green button there to press, and then you're done with deploying all the printers. Pretty cool. I mean, it gives you just kind of a rough idea of what goes on, and this will go on and on. Just to show you this, I get requests all the time, everyone that like to see something live. So, all right, Print Deploy, let's see what's going on here. I've got a virtual machine set up. Matter of fact, let's even look as we take a look at the specs on the machine. This is an insider preview version. This is even a step ahead of what you might have installed currently. So I like to use this a lot of time in testing, because if it works here, then I know it's going to work, on previous releases. So that's what I got going. This is called Horizon, is the name of this computer here, and we find that it exists on 192.168.0.45. So as I said, everything's IP driven. Let's reserve that in our heads to keep that in mind for the next steps coming up. Also, I have my print management tool open, and these are just the standard print queues that we have inside of Windows when you have like a fresh install. So we're going to do a manual install. So I've taken the computer, and all I need to do is log into my instance of PaperCut. Last time I showed something live was when we did configurations. And so mine's configured with a bunch of rock and roll. It's always kind of fun to be able to make yours look however you want to make it look. Here's my instance of PaperCut. And what you're going to see now on the left-hand side is this new tab, Enable Printing. But before I get there, I kind of want to show you this. Let me go to my current printers tab. What I've got going on here are the printers in my system. I've got a few DPM direct print monitors already running. Now, this is not Print Deploy. This is separate. I set those up, and they're running with the direct print monitor. If I want to use Print Deploy on these computers, I've got to uninstall that direct print monitor, because we're going to send out a new one, a more enhanced one with the Print Deploy feature. So just wanted to point that out. These are just regular DPM, direct print monitors, and then down below are all my server queues that we see. Now, let's get to Enable Printing and open this up, because this is where Print Deploy is housed. Also, you'll find mobile and BYOD on this tab too. That's kind of important to note, because that was always in the Options tab. And so if you go to Options and you're looking for mobile and BYOD and it's not there, don't get worried, think you got to reinstall or something like that. You'll find it right here under Print Deploy. All right, so we have another kind of cool feature in Print Deploy. Let's go ahead and go full screen with this. We can work on everything in a full screen view, which is pretty nice. On the right-hand side, I just want to point out that I have all of the printers that I've already cloned. So I've taken a computer. I've taken a couple of different Windows computers. These two came from one Windows computer. I named this one differently because it came from a different computer. That's only for this demonstration purpose. It doesn't matter in here. Just so you can see that I used a couple of Windows computers. Some folks are getting hung up on this reference computer. You can do whatever you want, and these computers can be destroyed. I could take that VM that this came from and completely discard it and just go ahead and fire up another one and just create the queue here. At any event, I also have some Mac print queues that I took my Mac and brought the queues in here. So you just take the computer, make the print queue, make sure it works. That's the important part. And then run the cloner tool, and you'll get it uploaded here. The cloner tool. Now, where would I get that, I wonder? Well, let's take a look. Let's, up in the top here, add or update. Now, default, it's going to show you the cloner tool. But if you already have printers, I got to click on this tab here. So I'll click on add or update, and this is what it would look like if you don't have any printers and or if you just click the tab like I did. Here's my cloner tool. I mean, it takes all of, 15 seconds or so to download. It's just a small utility. Same thing for Mac OS. Here's the link down below. I'm on Windows, so it's defaulted here to my Windows tab. So that's all you do. You just do that on that computer that's got a working print queue. Any of those queues, by the way, will be uploaded into PaperCut. Not the ones like the default queues that you just saw in my first instance when I opened up my print management. Not those types of queues or PDF writer queues, queues that don't really kind of work. Any real working queue, every queue that's on that reference computer will be uploaded and brought into this PaperCut instance here so we can deploy it. Okay? Again, Windows, and I've got a Mac one here. Now, another real important thing, down at the bottom right, you'll see a link down here, Print Deploy Help Center. You want to know everything about Print Deploy? Well, go ahead and just click on this tab. This is the new look of all the help centers, by the way. You may have noticed this in Mobility Print or job ticketing, if you're using that feature. And now we see it with Print Deploy. I really love it. Easy to navigate and get your information in the new kind of look that we have here. Also, you'll find this as a manual in the 19.1 instance. When you go up to your question mark and you need to just get to the manual for PaperCut, it also looks like this too. So pretty cool help center stuff that we got going on. Again, that's a bottom right link down here. Just kind of want to point that out and make sure you know where that's at. Let's go ahead and close out this window. Again, all of the printers that we have cloned and have brought into here, Windows and Mac, as you can see. Now then, on the main page here, this is where we can do our zones. You've got, a button here to easily add a zone if you have that enablement pack. If you haven't, then you're going to be able to create different zones. So I've got 3 different zones, Studio 1, Studio 2, Studio 3. Let's go ahead and take a look at what these zones look like. Standard is this everyone zone. All right, so, you get this right away with PaperCut, both MF or NG. So that comes standard. The enablement pack allows you to create zones. So let's look at my zones. Zone 1. And remember, IP range is what we're talking about. This is going from 2 to 20. And pretty soon we'll be able to do this group thing here. Let me show you this. Here's your edit zone. I didn't notice this at first. Had to ask for some help from my wonderful solution architect guys. And then they were like, you dummy, just look at that tab down there. It was kind of grayed out, all right? So you just scroll over it. Thanks, guys. And click on this, and this is where you could change your IP range. This is where I could add a new range if I needed to. Maybe I need another range inside of here. I can have overlapping zones or overlapping IPs between zones if that's how you need to configure things. That's fine. And then I will point out user group coming soon. Coming soon, we'll be able to use your Active Directory groups. As I understand, that'll be the only directory to begin with. We have more coming soon, but at any event, Active Directory groups you'll be able to pick from. Coming soon. That's not here today, and that will be only with the Advanced Enablement Pack. So if you're going to need that kind of drill down, and in many cases you probably will, you're going to want to take a look at that Advanced Enablement Pack. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Anyway, Zone 1, 2 to 20. I've got this one virtual queue that I'm able to push out with Print Deploy. Let's take a look at Studio 2. Studio 2 is IP range 21 to 50. Now, I should have shown, actually, let's go ahead and pull up my command prompt. Where am I at? I'm at 45. That's right, I did point that out, 192.168.0.45. So that's where I exist on this computer. So I'm going to expect to get these 2 queues, deploy color direct and deploy print and white, black and white direct. there's a little tab over on the right here, more information, so I can take a look at this queue. What is it? This could come in handy when you're doing some configuration for find me queues and things like that, because I know what kind of driver it is, and then it's a PostScript driver and the connection and all that kind of stuff. So you do get that over on the little ellipsis next to each one of your print queues here inside of Print Deploy. Also, if I needed to remove that, we'll see that in a moment how that works. So again, I'm in the zone. I'm going to expect these two, and just to continue with the demo for zone 3, this is where all the artists come in with their Mac to make the covers and things like that. So they've got their Macs. I've got Mac queues in here, and I've got Windows queues in here. Now, you've got down at the bottom Windows and Mac client queues. Again, really hard to find all those software here for Print Deploy, right? So if I have a Mac, I'm going to put in the Mac client, and it's going to be smart enough to know I need these two. The folks that have Windows, that are using the Windows client, are going to get these 4. I know that makes sense. All right, so let's see what happens. Studio 2, again, we're expecting these 2 queues to happen. Now, the first thing I need to do is download the client, as I mentioned, down at the bottom. Got Mac OS, Windows. Go ahead. Obviously, I'm on Windows. Let's go ahead and grab this. I'm doing it manually. I think it's pretty cool that right off the bat, I get the manual. It opens up and says, oh, you must be rolling out the Print Deploy client. Here's your options. Well, I do know what we're doing here with the manual stuff. All we really need to do is run this. But I'm going to do a quick save as. I want you to notice that the file name has the server. The server is called Alpine Valley, so the server name is in parentheses at the end of that. Now, you can't just create that, and you do not want to change that, because that's how it's going to find the PaperCut server. All right, so just wanted you to see that. Let's go ahead and save that, and we'll have this ready here to install. Running a security scan, and this should be ready to go in just a moment. Let's go ahead and do a run. This is like the hard stuff. I'll do it next, and of course authorize. We're going to do that on this computer. We'll let this go through. We'll get a command prompt. It's going to deploy everything here, and when it gets done, we'll hit the finish button. I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but you're going to see firewall settings get changed as this is installing the client. It's also doing the direct print monitor. It's a little bit enhanced because it will also do some authentication for us as well. So again, just takes a moment. It may be too fast when it goes through the next couple of steps to grab. Here it comes. It's done, and we'll finish up. Okay, now this computer is not joined to any network. I didn't log in, so I'm not on a domain. This could be an example where maybe I'm getting G Suite credentials to log in with, something along that line, or any really authentication system. There's a lot of the online ones out there that we work with. Virtually any domain service that we're, open directory, et cetera, because, we're OS neutral, so we can install PaperCut on anything. Down at the bottom here, because I'm not on the domain, and because I was talking so long, I got a couple of them that are open down there too. I've got, it's asking me, who are you? I got some stuff going on, so that's why these things are popping up here. So, all right, let me be quiet, and I'll just log in once. A couple down there, I know. It's got these printers to deploy, and says, who are you? Who are you? It keeps asking. So signing in, hopefully I did the right login. Yes, I did. And let's see what happens. Let's open up our print management queue here, because it's going to get these installed. It should go through rights and everything. If the only rights you might have is like you see here, where I had installed this client, but as long as you have everything set up correctly, most likely you're not going to have to worry about any rights issues. Now, also, print management does not refresh necessarily automatically, so I'm going to do a refresh. Look, there they are. And that's what we expected, right? In Zone 2, deploy color direct, deploy black and white direct. Those are the 2 queues. So we do see them there. Let's also take a quick look. Let me come up here, and I'll just do a file print. And let's say we're going to print something, and here they are here. So I'm ready to go. I mean, user by this, they've logged in. They don't even know this is necessarily happening in the background, although they do get a little icon in the bottom now, in the bottom right. So if a change needed to be happen, and this is where I make an update or I put a new driver, this is where you can have that 10 to 20 minute time period. We're calling it 15, but we've got the scatter technology going on. So if I update it, this user may not get anything for that time period. You could say, you know what, just go ahead and right click on your icon down on the bar down there in the taskbar and go ahead and click on refresh my printers now. So you can do that as well. So that's what we've got going on. We did show, let's take a look also in our print management. Let's take a look at this particular queue. Let's go to the properties of the queue. And let me go into preferences, and we'll see that this is indeed set for black and white. I'll go into also, because, always good to set it here under the Advanced tab for printing defaults, also black and white. And enabled advanced printing features, that's unchecked. I went and unchecked that in my driver too. Sometimes that can do some funny things in PaperCut. If you ever have any problems with a driver, uncheck that. Maybe that's checked and doing something. So uncheck that and you'll see that. So the things there, also wanted to show you, my bad. Wanted to show you the port has a PD underscore in front of it, in front of the queue name. So you know that comes from print deploy. Okay, so there's the properties of the driver. Oh, I wanted to add a different driver. My goodness. This particular person needs this one too. They need PCL. These are all PostScript, but they needed this PCL driver for an application. And you know what? We're going to give them Find Me capability as well, so they can just print one thing and go to any device and pick that up. So I'm going to connect those two. Just did a checkbox. Down here at the bottom was the connect to zone. Hope I didn't do that too quick. Save and deploy. Let's do that. And this says I'm all done. This again is that roughly 15-minute time period where we wait for things to happen. Now, fortunately, that time period is configurable. So for demo purposes, I did speed it up. And I'm going to do a refresh. Hopefully we'll see something come in here in just a moment. It's going to add one more physical queue. And I've got the virtual queue here. I did that for a reason as well. You're not going to see a virtual queue inside of your print management, by the way. So we're going to find that once we do file print. Let's do another refresh and see. All right, it's probably still cooking in the background. I did bring the timing down, but maybe it's not fast enough. So that's still going in the background. Let's see if we have anything under file print yet. Still waiting for these two to come through. Sometimes I see the virtual just kind of pop up here when it gets installed. That moment. And again, when you first enter any kind of zone or when you first log into your computer, this stuff is working right away, automatically in the background. So there isn't that wait period. It's only when you make a change, as I've just done, just grabbing a couple other drivers. And end user doesn't have to do anything. I don't have to go anywhere to initiate this request. It's just going to get pushed down automatically, and they might have to refresh an application in some cases, although I've worked with a couple and haven't had to refresh anything too. Speaking of refresh, I do now see that we have the deploy PCL driver that's on here, and that's over here you'll see that's an HP driver. I lift this open. You can see some of the information as well. So that came from not only a different computer, but a different driver. I didn't do that because of the HP and Epson thing, but that's just came up from a different computer, that's all, for your demo purposes. Let's, again, go back to File Print. And here's our virtual queue, all ready to go. Remember, Alpine Valley, that was the name of our server. And in reverse, remove the print queue, move the print queue, save and deploy, See if this goes right away. That's great. If not, you're getting the idea here, because that's all you do as an administrator. Yeah, look, that's gone already off of that. That's gone. Maybe I'll do a file print. See if that. Still there. It's probably going to disappear in just a moment. But at any event, you're getting the idea that you can add and subtract. There, that's fine. You can add and subtract printers easily. End user doesn't have to do anything. And let's also take a look over here at our printers again. Remember when I showed some direct print monitors that I had set up. There were 3 of those that we were already looking at, and then all of my other server queues were listed down below. So let's let this refresh in just a moment and take a look at what happened in my printers tab. Messing around with all these, so it's taking some time. It's writing to the database as I'm adding and subtracting some things. What are you doing to me here? Also, I've had a couple other slowdowns. I'm adding a bunch of resources to this, and I'm running this off of a laptop as well. So it's always fun to do all those things and expect everything to just fly. Here we go. So we see it did grab this, even though I took it off that computer. It already put an entry in here for that deploy PCL from different computer. We see that here. And then I see deploy color direct. So that one's ready to go too. And those are my other 3 direct print monitors. Oh, you say I'm missing one. You know, when you look at your DPM, always take a look at like numbers. So I do see the number 2 next to this. Let's stop and think about this. A direct print monitor inside of PaperCut will take, if it's got the same IP address, will gang them both together. So it sees the IP address both for the black and white direct and color direct, thinking that these are just 2 different instances of a driver that's on the computer going to the same one. So it's grouped them together for reporting. And maybe this is the way that you want it. You want to go ahead and report on everything together through these, and others would gang through it. But it's only going to take that first name that came through. So deploy color direct was the first one that came through, and it added an entry here, and then also put black and white direct as a second entry, but gang them together so you could manage them together. Well, you don't want to manage them together. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Over on the right, I've got an unlink. This is all inside of PaperCut. That's all. So this is if you want to manage it differently. I can still do filters and restrictions and all that kind of stuff. I can do all that on these queues. If I do any scripting or anything, or if I want to do pop-ups, I do have to install the other PaperCut client. That's the only thing this can't do. Right now, it's doing direct print monitor and authentication, as we saw. But I'm not going to be able to do shared accounts or any kind of messages. I do have to install the other client, but I can set it all up if that's what I need for these queues. All right, let's get to where I was going on this. I'm going to unlink. This is called color direct, so I want to make sure I unlink black and white direct, because when I do that, and I click on printers again, now I've got the 2 different computers, and I can these 2 here. I can manage these differently inside of PaperCut. So what do you want to do? Do you want to keep them together? Do you want to keep them separate? There you go. That is print deploy. And, I got to just say that I'm glad it wasn't like Bill Gates when XP blue screened on him in front of everybody. I mentioned this earlier. Here's the details. The standard print deploy is built into PaperCut NG and PaperCut MF at no additional cost. I mean, how cool is that? So what does the advanced enablement pack get you? Pure and simple, zones. Coming soon will be user group queue deployment. I pointed that out. You'll be able to specify an Active Directory group as part of the zone. It's not there yet, but you should see this by the end of the year with the Advanced Enablement Pack. Now, you don't have to worry about how many zones, how many users, how many printers, how many print queues, anything like that. This is just a one-time charge, and it opens up the extra capability of print deploy. So please remember this. Standard print deploy comes with the base package of PaperCut. It's included at no extra charge. Now, that definitely is a value add. If you need a little more, then it's just that flat fee. No need to confuse anything here. The fee is not too bad either. It's much, much, much less than having to purchase another piece of software that you hope will talk to PaperCut nicely. So just to be clear, we'll go over this once again. The Advanced Enablement Pack can be purchased with a one-time flat fee. No need to consider the amount of users, printers, print queues, or anything like that, the number of sites, branches, nothing like that. Customer must have active maintenance and support in order to be eligible for any upgrades to the pack in the future. See, a lot of nice advantages for everyone here. The benefit really is one product, of course, solving more of what our customers want, solving both print queue deployment as well as print management, reducing your support and operational costs by consolidating these products. You can increase customer longevity by enabling and managing the print environment, and simple pricing that just makes selling easy. Can't get any better than that. Add extra customer value on your deals now by expanding professional services. Easy to set up the print queues and all the drivers quickly with Print Deploy. All righty, on to some more stuff. This is on-premise OCR. Pretty much says it all right there. PaperCut version 19.1 will now allow you to create editable and searchable documents securely within your organization's local or hosted IT systems. So version 19.0 came out with Cloud OCR, like I reminded you at the beginning, making documents searchable, or you can convert things to Microsoft Word with just a touch of a couple buttons. This solution was only cloud-based, and we do know that some organizations may not allow using cloud services, but yet they really need to create editable, text searchable documents. This was originally in the Percolator. That's how we test things with PaperCut, everything coffee-related. We'll put it in the Percolator and let it brew for a bit. So that was in the Percolator with version 19.0, and now it's out. So if you need OCR capabilities and need to have it done on-premise, this is in full release now with version 19.1. So what this means is that you can have locally hosted OCR on-premise, all safe and secure behind your firewalls. You do need a license for it. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But like most things PaperCut, it's a simple setup experience. It's included in the 19.1 feature. If you've installed version 19.x, then you may have noticed a Capture tab under Options in the PaperCut dashboard. Simply click on that tab, and you'll be in the OCR section where you can initiate this option. Then just download the installer, run it, add the hostname, you're done. As part of configuring OCR, the PaperCut administrator can turn on the languages that are selected for detection within documents. Now, this isn't something that you necessarily want to do a select all. Matter of fact, you can't, but you really need to specify the languages that you're going to encounter with the documents. There's a limit of 10 languages, which really should suffice for any organization. The more that you choose, the longer it can take to process your document. And the choice is in the admin's hand. Do you want to do performance or do you need more accuracy? You'll choose one or two languages for best OCR processing performance, or more languages if accuracy is more important for you. PaperCut is using the Tesseract OCR engine to accomplish these tasks. Cloud OCR is the standard offering. If you do need to process on-premise, then you're going to need this document processing pack. Now, this pack will turn on the on-premise capability as well as offer load balancing. So if your customer is scanning a lot, we can offload the OCR processing to several servers. That little piece is in the Percolator right now as well. OCR is very processor intensive, so keep that in mind as you're laying out the scanning strategy with your customer. Coming soon will be some cleanup features, despeckle, deskew, some blank page removal. Not there yet, so stay tuned to ACDI for all the updates. On-premise OCR, offering benefits for both you and your customer, of course. For the end user, for those with strict policies about data sovereignty, you'll keep it on-premise. Also, on-premise servers process documents quickly because you can use high-performance servers. Well, unless you use something substandard, I guess, but I don't know why you would do that. Anyway, for you, when setting up a PaperCut MF site, you now have the choice of cloud-based or locally based OCR functionality. Locally hosted OCR, that's on-premise, is a paid-for feature, so a little bit more revenue opportunity for you as well. A lot of people are going to be real happy with this new addition to PaperCut's Scan to Cloud offering. Scan to SharePoint Online is now available. Scan your document directly to your SharePoint Online document library. Configured once by the admin and deployed across all devices, providing fast access to scan documents and saving the user time. Currently, SharePoint users with PaperCut need to scan to a local drive or maybe their OneDrive account and then move that document into SharePoint manually. We know users would like to just scan directly to their SharePoint site document library, and that way they can have quick and easy access. If you've used PaperCut's integrated cloud scanning, then you know how easy it is to scan to a cloud destination. Now we're expanding this to SharePoint. We've got a new configuration field that's been added on the Scan Action Details page. That'll link to the SharePoint document library where you can specify destinations. This is a screenshot of what the PaperCut interface looks like when you create your scan action, which you'll find scan actions under Devices, Scan Actions. In that field that I just showed you on the last slide, you specify destination or destinations. Make multiple tabs. You might want to do that, create multiple scan actions depending on needs. And you can secure them, of course, with the security aspects, an ACL on there right inside of PaperCut. Make sure the right person gets the right scan action. And this can really help with the end user experience, providing flexibility for your scanning needs too. Shown here are examples of what the URL might look like as to configuration. Well, just simply cut and paste the URL from the address bar into the scan action. Just wouldn't be easier than this scan action will work like all the others. End user gets an email to authorize scanning to the repository their first time. Future scans will simply arrive at their destination. It's that easy. Benefits, of course, include saving time with pre-configured settings to scan to your SharePoint document library. And one-click scanning saves you time at the multifunctional device, plus faster access to your documents in your SharePoint Online repository, too. For you, Scan to SharePoint Online could provide capabilities that need to be included in RFIs, RFPs, or other requests that you may get. You might be able to offer business services around designing SharePoint deployments. That way you can optimize business processes that you already have. And of course, re-engage with existing customers that use SharePoint Online. A couple other cool new things released with version 19.1, highly requested item, custom reports. Now you can have more flexibility in creating detailed reports alongside of the current set of 80-plus standard reports available in PaperCut today. Build your own reporting feature using any Jasper Reports compatible editor, which can be launched within PaperCut. Initial release will have up to 3 customized reports. Again, all your other ones are there too. 3 customized reports, and more reports will be coming soon. Now, PaperCut will need to be run with an external database, as the built-in Apache Derby database does not allow for concurrent connections. Most databases are supported. You can find out more about Jasper by doing a Google search for Jasper Reports. It should lead you to jaspersoft.com, where you can check out the Jasper Reports library. Some more great open source software for your review. The one-click refresh has been completed that I first mentioned in version 19.0. Here's the list of those reports that are built into PaperCut that have a new look. The data hasn't changed, but the look has. So take a look. When you run these, you'll find them to look much more streamlined and contemporary. Language selection at the MFD. This first appeared on Konica Minolta devices. PaperCut now expanding this feature to two others, Rico and Kyocera. Here's what happens. User makes a one-time selection of the default language at the MFP. Then, no matter where you go, it remembers your selection. This is user-specific. Admins can easily specify the languages to pick from at the multifunctional device, and those languages can be dependent on the MFD as well. Also want to note that the copier language will not change, just the PaperCut interface. Again, user just needs to do this once, and all devices on that PaperCut server will respond with their language when they log in. Deployment improvements in PaperCut. What we're talking about is bulk deployment of devices on new installations. So faster, safer, less human error, and fully remote installs. Rico and Kyocera. Resellers and sysadmins can rapidly deploy through remote setup of MFP fleets within PaperCut, as you can remotely associate the multifunctional devices to the PaperCut app server with no on-site technical resources required. Also, bulk installs of Kyocera and Sharp can now use CSV files to upload as many devices as you need, so your larger rollouts can be completed much faster. Templates are included inside of PaperCut. They're located in the PaperCut directory. Navigate to Server, Deployment, and Batch to view the template and the README file. And now for something completely different. This is a little bit of the surprise I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the presentation. And what's really brewing in the Percolator right now, you can test this with PaperCut version 19.1. Device scripting. You're most likely familiar with print scripting, and PaperCut makes it really easy to use, even for someone like me that's not as well versed on scripting. PaperCut makes it easy. Now, we're checking out scripting for devices. This could solve a lot of things that people have wanted to do with PaperCut, but haven't been able to do so because of this or that. Since this is a Percolator item, we'll just take a quick look at what's going on here. As mentioned, this is going to be like print scripting, except for the devices. And that being said, there's a lot of variables with devices, and we don't have their code, so this really can come in handy in many cases. It's all JavaScript. As you know, that's what PaperCut runs on. A quick side note, some sysadmins are not fond of Java, but that's okay. You don't have to run Java on your server. PaperCut uses a self-contained instance of Java all on its own. Well, like print scripts, here's what a device script could look like. As you can see by this action, this particular script would allow any teacher to make free copies. Again, looks like a lot of things we'll be able to do with this going forward. Here's a short list of the main hooks and actions that we can create. There's going to be login hooks that could allow access and filters, hooks for cost adjustments and comments, and a release hook available during this Percolator time. Really cool stuff, as always, from PaperCut. And there we have it. I mean, this is just a point release. Almost hard to tell, but that's PaperCut. Version 19.1 was released for general availability just a couple of days ago, so it's available and on the portal right now. And, of course, you can download and test PaperCut version 19.1 as a partner of ours. Upgrade or set it up with your NFR today and give it a whirl. If you're not sure how to obtain your NFR, reach out to your ACDI representative. They'll get you all set. We'll get to your questions in just a moment, but first, time for trivia question and your chance to win a very cool ACDI t-shirt or polo. Trivia and live Q&A with Dave and myself are only for those that attend these webinars. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all the updates on when we post these recordings. So we'll end the presentation part by saying thanks for watching. Stay tuned to ACDI for all your PaperCut updates. I'm the doctor for ACDI.